Buddy, and welcome to my, well, not my, but my, little Discord group's fantasy league. Now, I'm aware I'm doing this, a day late, so this is gonna be a little bit scuffed, but we're gonna work with this, right? So, the people in this league, let me just quickly go over to league. We have, me, which is Mets, duh, I'm the AJ Brown jersey. I promise you AJ Brown's not on my team. We have Minus, Cam, ISO, Jay, Glitch, Burrow, Magnolia, Dials, Adams, ATS, and Montez. So we're just going to quickly do a little overview of the matchups. You can see all of our teams. I'll do this every week because why not? So we start off here with me and Minus. You see the 4 points. That's by Devonta Smith. We'll get to that later. So the QB matchups, I have Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. at my quarterbacks, while he has Justin Fields and Jordan Love. And I think that this is a clear outscore for my team. Jaden Daniels is going to finish as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. Michael Penix has crazy amounts of potential. Meanwhile, you're facing Jordan Love, who has been dealing with nagging minor injuries all of the preseason. Granted, he is going to play and he will be fine more than likely, but and he's also probably going to be in a shootout. So, I mean, it could really go well for him, but we'll see. And then Justin Fields. As a Jets fan, I'm telling you right now, he's not doing jack shit, right? So, then we go over to running backs, and this is where this kind of blows for me, because I have Christian McCaffrey. And, okay, so we'll start off with the non-injured people. Bucky Irving is in a Bucks-Falcons matchup where it's always an offensive shootout between the two teams. I'm not concerned about Bucky at all. He has Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. I don't love Jonathan Taylor this year as a fantasy option, but he could absolutely prove me wrong. So go ahead. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be great. I have no doubt that he's going to finish as a top 5 running back. And then we get to my RB2, or I guess technically RB1, but he's just kind of there. And it's Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, this is kind of rough for me, right? So, yesterday, reports came out right before the Cowboys and Eagles game that he was limited at practice due to a calf injury. So now I'm just basically praying to God himself that he's not injured and he can actually play on Sunday, because if he isn't, I might cry. But assuming McCaffrey's healthy, I also think I have a bit of an edge on the running backs as well. Jonathan, I think the real difference maker here is Jonathan Taylor. We both went pretty RB heavy, as you can see, but I don't have as much faith in JT as I do in the other three. I do think Gibbs is probably the best back this week, but with Micah now on that Packers D-line, he could find some struggles. And I think I just have more faith in my guys, assuming they're healthy. We'll get to what happens if McCaffrey doesn't play in a bit. Next up, the receivers. And this one is concerning me, because I had Terry and Matthew Golden. He has Devonta Smith and Ladd McConkey. Now, I was actually going to give him the advantage here, because I was under the impression that Devonta Smith and Ladd would be a much better duo, but then last night happened. Devonta Smith was terrible. The Eagles receivers as a whole, frankly, were just not good for fantasy. I think because of Devonta Smith, as long as Matthew Golden and Terry McLaurin put up decent enough numbers, I think I can win that part out too. Tight end. Yeah, I don't like this at all, right? So I originally had Kincaid and Zach Ertz. I now have Kincaid on my bench, and I have Chig Okonkwo. I don't know what is compelling me to put Chig Okonkwo, but for some reason I have more faith in him than Dalton Kincaid. Can't tell you why. Last season's really fucking me up, but if y'all think I should go Kincaid in the comments, let me know. And he has Sam Laporta. I don't have to explain this that much. Laporta's probably going to outscore him. Flex is also another concern for me here. I have RJ Harvey, who might not even be I don't think he's actually RB1. I think he's an RB2, but I feel like there's going to be a more split backfield than some people are saying. I think RJ is going to get enough touches to be a viable flex option. And I think that Chris Olave is being very slept on just because of a shitty quarterback situation. But you also have to remember, who in the blue hell else are the Saints going to target, right? And, like, as long as Olave can stay healthy, I think he'll be fine. But then we're comparing it to Devontae Adams, who I think is going to be very, very good, unless Matthew Stafford is hurt. If Matt Stafford gets hurt, him and Puka's value for me are just going to absolutely tank with, like, Jimmy Garoppolo and Stetson Bennett at his quarterback. But assuming Matthew Stafford is perfectly okay, I think he'll be fine. And then J-Mo. Notice the Lions trend with this guy. He's not even a Lions fan. He's a Bengals fan. But, like, he has a lot of Lions, and he has the Lions defense. I just realized. Jesus Christ. I think if the Lions offense collapses, I think he's just cooked entirely for this matchup. But I think his flexes will outdo me here. I don't want to talk about my QB3. So then I have Braylon Allen, Nick Chubb, Dante Thornton, Darnell Mooney, Marvin Mims, and Kincaid on the bench. He has Rome Odunze, Zach Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, Rico Dowdle, Keon Coleman, Emmanuel Wilson, and Tyler Shuck. I do think his bench is better than mine, but I think as the starting lineup stands on, who would I even start? I think what I'd have to do is I think Nick Chubb would genuinely have to go into my lineup. Either him or Marvin Mims. Either him or Mims, I'd probably put in my lineup. That's another one y'all can leave in the comments. Overall, I think I'm projecting my team to eke out a win here. Now, in this next matchup, you see a lot more points were scored because somebody had CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aubrey while he had Fergie, right? So you got ISO versus Cam. You see Tua and Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback room, and it makes you want to puke, right? So, maybe I'm being a little over-exaggerating because I think the Colts kind of suck, and I think the Panthers' defense is very questionable. But, like, these are just two quarterbacks who should be really good, but they're just, like, they're not. Like, we're banking on Tua not dying on the football field. We're banking on Trevor being like a year 5, year 6 breakout, and then then again on the other side we have Cam, who has Bryce Young, who granted I have more faith in than both Tua and Trevor Lawrence, and Bo Nix at QB1, who I think is going to be a very good fantasy option this year. I have to give the quarterback situation to Cam. Now, we have James Cook and Kenneth Walker for ISO, and we have Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs for Cam. I like 3 of these 4 guys. I like Kenneth Walker, I like Josh Jacobs, I like Chase Brown. I don't like James Cook. Reason I don't like James Cook, I think his volume is going to go down. I don't think he's going to get as many end zone opportunities as he did last season. I think there's bound to be regression. I think overall, I think Chase Brown and Jacobs are going to be very, very solid top 10 RBs this season. And I have to give this part to Cam as well. Then we come over to the wide receivers. It's Jamar Chase and Jerry Jeudy taking on for Cam. And then we have CeeDee Lamb and Jackson Smith and Jigba for ISO. And, so this is going to be interesting. I think this all kind of hinges on, is Jerry Jeudy good? Will he be okay with Joe Flacco at quarterback? I think he'll be fine. And I also think that Jamar is probably going to drop 30 points against the Browns defense this week. But I think not knowing what we're going to get from Jerry Jeudy this year, I think I'm going to give a slight... Because also CeeDee had a pretty solid night as well last night, as you can clearly see here. I'm going to give a slight edge to ISO here. Then we go to tight end, Bowers, Ferguson. Don't even need to explain this. Brock Bowers. Easy. Now, for some ungodly reason, I'm looking at Jerome Ford in ISO's flex with Jalen Waddle versus Courtland Sutton and Emeka Egbuka. Why'd I say Egbuka, bro? But yeah, Emeka Egbuka, right? This is another easy one to say. Cam definitely has this here. The benches, you see Caleb Williams, Cedric Tillman, Jaden Higgins, Demario Douglas, Brenton Strange, and Packers defense for ISO. And you see Arroyo, Josh Downs, Wan'Dale Robinson, Christian Kirk, J.K. Dobbins, Austin Eckler, and Tootin on the bench for Cam. Overall, I think that Cam is going to win this matchup, and I'm kind of getting the feeling that it's not going to be close. Next up, you got Glitch taking on Jay. We'll start with the quarterbacks as we're doing. Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. and Kyler Drake May. Wow, what a QB room for Glitch. I love Kyler and Drake May. I think that they're two very solid sleeper picks for late round sleeper picks for quarterback. Though that being said, I am going to give the edge to Glitch. Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. I don't know if Baker's going to be as good as he was last season. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 again. Joe Burrow's going to be a top 5, and I don't think there's any debate on that whatsoever. I think that even if Kyler and Drake May are two very solid options, I think Joe Burrow alone wins this matchup for him. And Baker, I'd say, is probably better than both May and Kyler as well, at least at the moment. I don't love the picking him at his current ADP, but overall I think it's a very solid QB room, and I'd have to give that part to Glitch. Then you go over to RBs. Jay has Omarion Hampton, Bijan Robinson taking on Glitch's Ashton Jeanty and Devon Achane. Now I'm going to give a little bit of context. Nobody in this league likes Ashton Jeanty. We are all much higher on Omarion Hampton than Ashton Jeanty, to the point where I think Omarion actually went higher than Jeanty. I think Jeanty deadass fell to the 4th round. But that being said, I'm not going to take away the fact that in college he was an absolute demon. Granted, with a little bit of questionable competition, but that can be argued for anybody, right? Unless you're in SEC. So I think Jeanty and Hampton are very big question marks just because they are rookies. We don't know what we're going to get yet. Then again, I have much more faith in Bijan Robinson than Devon Achane. I think Devon Achane is very Tua reliant, and granted, Tua's fine right now. But I get okay, I'm just gonna say it. Bijan Robinson is my RB1 pick this year. I don't think anybody's going to do better than him, really. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Maybe McCaffrey if he's actually healthy. But, more than likely going to be Bijan Robinson. I think the Falcons are going to have a top 5 offense in the league, just period, this year, right? So I think Bijan Robinson is going to be the spearhead of that offense. I think he's going to be averaging 25 a game. This might even be Glaze. But, I don't see Bijan being bad this year. Pretty simple. I'm going to give the RB advantage to Jay. I like Omarion Hampton more than I like Ashton Jeanty. I like Bijan Robinson more than I like Devon Achane, and it's really as simple as that. Then we go to the wide receivers. You got Nico Collins and T. Higgins for Jay. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown and George Pickens for Glitch. And this is another one where I had to really consider it. But I'm going to give this one to Jay with Nico and T. I think that T. Higgins, though being the second option on his team, with a quarterback like Joe Burrow and with his production in previous years, he's going to be just fine. And I personally think that Nico Collins has top 5, top 3 even receiver potential for the season. I really am high on Nico Collins. And I'm giving them an edge, A, because George Pickens underperformed last night and did pretty fucking awful. 3 receptions, 30 yards. It's not going to cut it on a weekly basis, right? And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm a little concerned. No more Ben Johnson. A lot of guys, which granted, a lot of guys on the offense hasn't hindered him before. But especially without Ben Johnson now, I don't know how I feel about Amon-Ra yet. And I think I just prefer Nico a little bit over Amon-Ra, and I think T. Higgins is going to outscore George Pickens, so I'm giving this to Jay as well. Now, George Kittle for Jay, Tyler Warren for Glitch. George Kittle, I think this is pretty easy. I don't really have to explain this much. If McCaffrey is out, George Kittle's finishing tight end 1 for week 1. I don't think there's even a debate. The entire Niners skill room right now is George Kittle, maybe Christian McCaffrey, and then Ricky Pearsall. Everybody else is dead, basically, right? Kittle is going to eat this week. Tyler Warren, I like him as a prospect. I think he's going to be a pretty solid rookie this year. That being said, I don't know. I can't give him an advantage over a proven top 2 tight end in the league when, his quarterback is Daniel Jones. So, for that alone, I'm comfortable putting George Kittle over him. Then we go to the flex spots. We see Stephon Diggs and Ricky Pearsall Dylan Sampson, Travion Henderson. I think that Travion Henderson is the best flex currently here. I think Henderson could finish a top 10 running back in the league, right? I'm really high on OSU running backs. I was really high on Judkins going into the draft too, but then, that shit happened. And then I was actually higher on Henderson than Judkins. I really like Travion Henderson. I'm actually more surprised he went below Omarion Hampton, because I liked him more than Hampton going into the draft, but I like Hampton too. So I think Henderson's going to be great. I think people are really sleeping on Stephon Diggs. Yes, he's coming off of a really bad injury, going into a Patriots offense that has a lot of questions, but, if he gets going, he's gonna get going. Ricky Pearsall, he's the clear wide receiver 1 for week 1. If McCaffrey's gone, he's gonna eat even crazier. And it basically just comes down to, I don't even know who's the starting running back this Sunday for the Browns. So I don't know if I should have more faith in Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson. This could be a two-headed backfield, because I don't even know if Judkins is going to play at this point. He might be going back to college, apparently. Crazy shit. I'm giving the flex to to Jay. So overall, I think Jay is going to win this pretty swimmingly. I think the quarterbacks are going to keep Glitch in this, but I can't see Jay losing this with clear advantages at pretty much every position. The fourth matchup is Magnolia versus Burrow. So we're going to kick this off quickly. Magnolia has Josh Allen, Brock Purdy. Jay has CJ Stroud, Jared Goff. I'm not even going to spend time on this. Josh Allen's going to finish either QB1 or QB2. Magnolia wins this one. We go over to running back. Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard versus Kyren Williams, Isaiah Pacheco. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I don't love any of the running backs on my screen currently. But the running back I have the most faith in to at least be decent is probably Kyren Williams. And I think that there's been a lot of hype with Tony Pollard, especially after Ty J went down this preseason, but I think he's going to be fine eventually. And Tony Pollard also, he hasn't given me enough to have confidence in him. I think Kyren over Chuba is fair. I think Pacheco over Pollard is fair, as long as Pacheco could be, at least somewhat like his 2023 self. So, I'm going to go with Burrow for the running backs. Then we go to receiver. You have Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers. And then you got Malik Neighbors and Mike Evans. And I am a Mike Evans truther. People are calling me crazy for calling Mike Evans a top 5, top 6, top 7 receiver in the league. People gotta remember, this is Mike fucking Evans. This man has finished 11 seasons in a row with 1,000 yards. Bro is Mr. Consistent himself. I think he's gonna be just fine this year in a loaded offense. Malik Neighbors is going to eat this season, whether it's Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, or Russ. Because, he's so good. I'm not even a Giants fan. I will glaze this man to the moon. Malik Neighbors is actually an insane receiver, and even with very questionable quarterback play, I have confidence that he'll be just fine. On the other side, you have Brian Thomas Jr., who has Trevor Lawrence, of course, going up against the Carolina Panthers. I think he's going to eat against the secondary. I think the only person who's going to give him some trouble is J.C. Horn. Another LSU guy, because I'm an LSU fan. And I just realized, Neighbors Thomas. Oh my god, I'm living in heaven right now. I think BTJ is going to be very solid as long as T-Law stays healthy. But, even Mac Jones was getting this guy decent points. So, he should be good. And then Jacoby Myers. I know he requested a trade at some point. They signed Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper retired yesterday. So that was out of fucking left field. So he's back to being clear wide receiver 1. I do like the young receivers they have in Dante Thornton and Beck. But Jacoby is the alpha number 1 right now. And for that reason, even though I think Jacoby will be just, like, pretty good this year. I like Malik and Mike over Jacoby. And I like Neighbors over Brian Thomas this week. So I'm going to go with receivers for Burrow. Then you go to tight end, Mark Andrews and Evan Ingram. I'm going to go with Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's been projected as the joker for a Sean Payton-led offense, while Mark Andrews is absolutely going to be losing targets to Isaiah Likely, who I also think is a very solid tight end. And he could even be on the move at the deadline if Isaiah Likely ends up breaking out like crazy this season, right? Evan Ingram, I think, is going to be the spearhead of the passing game outside of maybe Cortland Sutton if they decide that Sutton is a better target than Ingram. But Ingram is going to eat in Denver, and I have confidence he finishes top 10 tight end in the fantasy. Next up, you go over to the flexes. You see DJ Moore, Tyrone Tracy, and you see Jaden Reed Marv. Does he have anybody on the bench he can put in there? Jesus Christ, his bench is terrible. Okay. Maybe Leggett. That's probably the best he has, though. If Jaden Reed is healthy, then he should be good, though. I'm not even going to overthink this. I don't have as much faith in Marvin Harrison as a lot of other guys do. And Jaden Reed is almost never a viable fantasy starter at this point. I'm going with Tyrone Tracy, DJ Moore for Magnolia's team. And then, yeah, defense, whatever. I actually am going to go over defense just because it's the Broncos defense, and I deadass think they're finishing defense 1 this year. This one is a much harder one to call, even though the projections have Magnolia absolutely smoking the shit out of Burrow. But I think I'm going to give the edge to... Shit, this is tough. I'm going to give a slight edge to Magnolia. I think Josh Allen might deadass drop 40 points this week. I think Bills-Ravens is going to be an absolute shootout. And then I think that just Mark Andrews is not a great tight end one, even with projections or whatever. I'm going to give a slight edge to Magnolia here. Matchup number 5. Dear God, this video is long. We got Dials versus Adams. Now, we already see some points here, right? So we'll start with the quarterbacks. We have Pat Mahomes, J.J. McCarthy for Dials, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford. I don't think Matthew Stafford is going to do great against Houston's secondary on Sunday. I only say that because... Okay, how do I... I'm concerned about his back. I'm still very concerned about his back injury, right? And with Dak only putting up 8 points, I think Mahomes is going to ball tonight. I think Chiefs-Chargers could be another shootout. It's either going to be a shootout or a defensive masterclass. And then J.J. McCarthy is very much in the unknown, but if you're throwing to fucking Justin Jefferson, I can't imagine that you're going to be that bad, right? So, I'm going to give it to Dials, because if Dak put up more points, I would have probably considered giving it to Adams, but I just think Dials is a better shot now that Dak only put up 8 points. Then we go to running back. We obviously see Dials as Saquon Barkley and also Alvin Kamara, who people are sleeping on again because for fuck's sake, the quarterback is terrible. Yo, he is not that bad. Alvin Kamara is great. He's great at the pass catching, and that's what you need in PPR leagues. And especially since on the other side, Breece Hall, James Conner as your RB1 and 2. I don't know what Adams was doing when he drafted the team, but, that RB room is just not acceptable, right? This is the easiest Dials win I've ever seen. We go down to receiver, Drake... Oh, wait, I skipped a little bit. So, we have A.J. Brown and Ted McMillan versus Puka Drake London. So, clearly he went receiver heavy, right? And I think... Oh, no, I was absolutely going to give this to Adams anyway, because I think Puka will be great, as long as Stafford is healthy. And I love Drake London this season. He is a great pickup. And then we're facing Ted McMillan, who I think will do very well against that Jacksonville secondary. But then A.J. Brown, who last night put up 1 catch for 8 yards. I have nothing else to say. This is easily a win for Adams in the receiver room. Go over to tight ends. Trey McBride, Tucker Kraft. This one is probably the least amount of a blowout. I know it looks like a blowout because of projections and Trey McBride being as high up as he is. I think Tucker Kraft deadass has top 5 tight end potential this year. I am still going to give this to Trey McBride, but I think Tucker Kraft will be able to keep up with McBride. Then we go over to our flexes, and oh my god, Javonte Williams last night decided, let me casually drop 21.9, right? And then you got Xavier Worthy, who's the clear wide receiver 1 in a Chiefs offense this for the first few weeks of the season because Rashee Rice is out. Going up against Aaron Jones, who is 30-something, and he's just kind of old, and I think Jordan Mason's actually going to take over that backfield this year. And Travis Etienne, who is dead-ass in a 3-way split for attempts, right? This was probably going to go to Dials anywhere. Is this Dials? Yeah, this is Dials. This was going to go to Dials anyway, but especially with Javonte popping off for fantasy last night, I have to go Dials here. And yeah, that's about all I got for this. Like, the benches are pretty questionable, honestly. But yeah, Dials is going to kill Adams in this matchup. And then the final matchup I have to go over is ATS Montez. Now, we have Lamar, Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson. Man. I did say I think that the Ravens-Bills game is going to be a shootout. I think Lamar is going to do great. I think Lamar is going to might even pass Jalen Hurts for what he did. I do really think that. I think Lamar is going to probably finish as QB1, QB2, maybe QB3 this week. I think he should be fine. I think Sam Darnold is going to be better than Russell Wilson. As suspect as I think he is this season, I'm going to give a tiny edge to Montez. Go over to running backs, and I can't look at this, right? This is disgusting. It's David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, which just isn't great as your RB room. But then you, on the other side, Derrick Henry. So he is the Lamar Henry stack. That's going to be elite. But then you have Ollie Gordon, who is going to lose most attempts to Devon Achane as your RB2. And just based on that, like, Derrick Henry is great. I love me some Derrick Henry. If Damo can get in the end zone once or twice, if D Swift is actually good in a Ben Johnson-led offense again, this is going to be a fucking light work for ATS because Ollie Gordon is not an RB2. He's barely a flex option right now. That's a pretty easy one to go over. This pisses me off, right? So, for Montez, I was just giving him shit for Ollie Gordon. But then his wide receiver room is Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson. Two very suspect receivers you have to draft in early rounds that I don't know if I love this season based on their situations. Tyreek is just washed, and Garrett Wilson has Justin Fields at quarterback. And then meanwhile, on the other side, you have Travis Hunter, who is either going to be elite on both sides of the ball, suck at both sides of the ball, or be a good DB and a shitty receiver. I don't think he's going to be a good wide receiver and a shitty DB. I think it would only be the other way around. But I think he should be pretty solid as the secondary option to Brian Thomas Jr. And then you got Jettis, who even with JJ McCarthy, I think will still finish top 5 as a wide receiver. I'm going to give it to Jettis and Hunter more because I have no faith in Tyreek Hill. This is probably the closest tight end matchup we've seen, but it's TJ Hawkinson versus David Njoku. Both have relatively suspect quarterbacks, and both are very, very talented, but I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this the first 50-50 grade. I think this could deadass go either way. Then we go to this, and... Okay. Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley for Montez. DK Metcalf and Zay Flowers for ATS. Alright, there's only one wide receiver that I like here, and it's Calvin Ridley. If you've been watching any of preseason or training camp or anything, Cam Ward to Calvin Ridley is going to look like a crazy stack this year. And then outside of that, Zay Flowers has never finished as like I think is like a top 25 wide receiver, something like that. And like we keep drafting him in the high rounds because he's the alpha wide receiver one. Like they aren't a run heavy team. And then DK Metcalf, I think it's more just I don't have faith in Aaron Rodgers to be a good quarterback this year. And then Cooper Kupp, like I hate to say it because I love Cooper Kupp, but he doesn't have it anymore. He's struggling to get open. Like he's not pulling in as many targets. He's gonna be the number 2 to JSN. I think I'm gonna give this to Montez, just based on Calvin Ridley. But I don't love either of their flexes, right? All right, so this one is a little hard because I don't know. But I know I gave more, I think I gave more positional things to, no, it was a 2-2 and a tie, right? So I'm going to give this to ATS. The only reason that I'm going to give this to ATS is because of Ollie Gordon being an RB2 in week 1 of a fantasy league. So based on that alone, I have to give the final to ATS. So if we go over to league, I have me beating out Minus as long as McCaffrey stays healthy. How about this? I'll say this. If McCaffrey stays healthy, I'm going to beat Minus. If Nick Chubb has to come in because McCaffrey's hurt, then Minus is going to kill me. I have... Did I say Kawhi beating Cam? I don't actually remember because I'm an idiot. I think I said I had Cam winning that one. Just refer to whoever I said at the beginning of the video, because I'm a moron. Yeah. So those were my predictions. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me who I should start in. Okay, here. In the comments, tell me, A, if I should start Chigakonkwo or Kincaid. And B, if McCaffrey's hurt, should I throw in Nick Chubb or Marvin Mims? Thank you for watching.